Greetings, fellow preppers. Oh, come on, seriously, guys. Hello and welcome back. Yeah, I hope your week's been good. It's the first sunny day in the UK for ages. It's been raining, isn't it? Yeah. Never thought it would stop. Haven't been out with the car until now. I did actually do a little inspection at work, and I did have a problem. I want to talk about this in a little while. And yeah, what I'll tell you coming up shortly, I bought some filters for the vehicle. This is a diesel fuel filter, okay, but I actually want to make a feature of it, just not tell you that, yeah, I'll change your filter, this is how to do it, because that's a no-brainer. But I do need to talk about why we need to drain the water out of diesel systems, okay. Now, I did see the Canadian prepper, one of his last videos is why don't you drive till you're empty. Ooh, yeah, okay, I get where he's coming from. It is check how much reserve tank you've got on your vehicle. But guys, seriously, if you've got a diesel engine and you're going to do that, make sure you know how to prime up your system, and you've got maybe a spare battery to crank it over till you got the air purged out of the system. Depends on your vehicle, but I would never advise to do that. You always need to keep at least a quarter of a tank at a time. Don't go any lower than that, and I will explain why in the diesel filter video, but I'm going to make that after this one. Yeah, so anyway, yes, this old car, yeah, it's been having some noise come from it, okay, and it first developed months ago, and then it disappeared, and then it started to come back, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. It sounded something auxiliary, it'd come and go. And yes, well, I've been pushed to find workshop space, but I managed to, after the noise got worse. In fact, it got to the point where I thought the engine was going to just give up the ghost. Now, the noise was a tapping rotary sound, quite high pitched, and increases in frequency, revving the engine, okay. And I thought camshaft, yep. Either oil starvation, yes, because the sound went, the higher the revs, the sound would disappear, yeah, or perhaps the camshaft bearing holders had snapped off and the cam was flapping. Yeah, wasn't sure, but whichever way, if you've got an engine noise like that, you have to ascertain what area it is and then do some intrusive work, yeah, which is expensive, and it's also time consuming. And this is one thing I was then considering: do I get another car, put this off the road, and then rip this to bits, because I can't afford to be off the road, okay. But I got it on the ramp at work at last, after they cleared the ramp for me. And these old rogues here, they gave me a hand, actually, because they're pretty good diagnostic technicians, old boys like myself, yeah. And what it turned out to be was the air conditioning pump was really noisy. Now, I never use the Aircon Pump at all. I don't use air conditioning. It's not warm in the UK. Maybe if you're in the Ukraine or somewhere like that where it's plus 40 in the summer. Been there in a car with no aircon, and you're sitting there with the windows open and you can't breathe because even the air coming in's hot. Yeah, that's nasty. But in the UK, you just need to go more than 5 miles an hour and you got cool air, haven't you? Yeah, so never switched it on. But what we did is switch it on and run the pump, yeah, and the noise went. It still is there in the background, not too much, but I think what it is there's an issue with the clutch that's on the front of the Aircon Pump, okay. Now, that's an auxiliary which is bolted to the engine, which isn't too bad, but a belt runs around it, okay, so that needs to be there. Thinking of a plan what to do. There's three options, well, actually four, if you take into consideration get a box of matches and a can of petrol and just set light to it and get rid of it, yeah, which really isn't an option. Option one is to replace the Aircon Pump itself, which is quite pricey, but the gas also has to be removed. It then has to be replaced once the pump has been put in, because there is lubrication within that system, so you can't just leave it sitting there doing nothing, as we've already found out. And then, of course, some systems have leaks in them because of the radiator conditions, or the heat exchanger, should I say, at the front. But this hasn't got one. It has got a condenser hidden somewhere on the pipework, which is a service item. It needs to be replaced, so that would have to be replaced along with the air conditioning pump, you know. The second choice is to find an alternative, put a shorter belt on. with a pulley. Yeah, usually the longer part of the belt, if there isn't an idler pulley stuck in there, that will flap about and that will cause problems. Okay, so I had to look at the Haynes manual, yeah, just to see if there's a non-aircon version of this engine. And lo and behold, in maintenance procedures, diesel models, there is actually a non-aircon variant. Okay, so there is the possibility of removing the aircon and pump and its bracket, fitting a bracket and an idler there, and put a shorter belt in, which is better because then no aircon pump. Okay, it's not needed. So I'm quite impressed with this. Actually, that's a good idea. There is always variants to certain models, and I found this out working on certain things. You suddenly find out it's a special build from the factory and it has a special pulley arrangement. Okay, so there's all sorts of variants, and of course this engine is not only in the Citroen C3, but you find it in the Ford Fiesta, you find it in Peugeot vehicles as well. It is actually a PSA engine, which is built by Ford. Duratorque engine, believe it or not, the HDI. Yeah, so there are possibilities, and with a little bit of investigation and a bit of scavenging, I could possibly maybe just go to the main dealers, get a bracket and an idler if costs permit, and then go that way, yeah, with a shorter belt on. The third option is, and this is for Land Rover type variant of modification, is the aircon pumps can be turned into compressors, air compressor pumps. Yes, it's a fact, and guys use it off-road for having onboard air, as they say. The problem is the aircon pump itself, the system is a closed loop system. It has lubricant in that system, so it's lubricating the pump as the gas goes round. Okay, now you take that system off and you're sucking air in and you're pumping it into a receiver tank. Okay, that's a total loss system, so you need some sort of lubricant to lubricate the pump, which is possible. It can be drip fed into the pump itself, but you get oily air out. But that does mean that you have onboard air for use if needs be. Yeah, all you need is an air tank and a pressure regulator, as well as a pressure relief valve, just in case the pressure regulator goes wrong. But other than that, not much else that you actually need. Yep, so that's a possibility. It's just a possibility. And of course, you know, being preppers, you have to think about these things. But of course, then you could dive into modification. Well, what do I need air for? Well, I could have air suspension. This has got a trailing arm on the back of this vehicle, which, like a trailer, like an HGV trailer, you can fit airbags where the springs were, height sensing valve, and then just rig up the air to it. That's a no-brainer, and of course it's mechanically driven, isn't it? However, it's another mechanical part that does sap energy from the engine, so I decided not to go that route. What I want to do is go minimalistic and simple as possible. So I want to look at this idler. I want to have a look at this idler system, which you probably think, oh, actually that's not a bad idea. That just removes another piece of the vehicle which is energy sapping and which will potentially cost a lot of money. Yeah, so that's the route I want to look down. If I can get an aircon pump that's in good condition, that's cheap. We do actually have an aircon machine at work, and yes, I could do that, but in reality, if I wasn't working as a technician, then I'd have to think in a different way. But I don't need aircon. I don't need aircon in this vehicle. You might need aircon. You might think it's a necessity. Yeah, I personally don't think it's worthwhile. Yeah. So anyway, next thing to do is to go to the main dealers to see what bracketry and idler I can get, because I don't have a registration number to give them. All I have is a ballpark area that they can look at. Now, if a parts person from a main dealer is worth his salt, then he can do that. Some parts people are not. They're not really interested. They just look at the computer, punch some numbers in, and away you go. Whereas other guys are actually pretty good. They know all the variants, and they'll go, yeah, I remember that was that model, blah blah blah, and then boom, they've got it. Yeah, this is why I build up relationships all around the place with people. If I go to like a motor factors, which I've been to today to buy the filters, I'd already had the part numbers there for them ready, so I can say I want this, this and this. And because it's Saturday, the guys don't want to think, they just want to get the jobs done and go. Yeah, so that was it. And it's like, yeah, you know, oh, how do you know all this? And they're all blah blah blah, numbers. I said, look, it's above my head, mate, just talk plain English and, you know, get on that way. Yeah, same with MOT testers and anybody that you have to have dealings with, you want to have good relationships with. Yeah, on a professional level or whatever level, it's, you know, you make their life easier. They will help you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, social skills. At the end of the day, it helps you to get along. It does. Whereas a shitty person won't get anything. They'll just get avoided. Yeah. So anyway, that's it today, guys. I just thought I'd let you know this is a vloggy, mechanic-y bit. Yeah, but basically, this is how I think. I don't just think, right, I've got to fit a new bit. Where can I get it from? Panic, panic, panic. I'm looking at all the other alternatives that are possible to get myself out of the shtuck and maybe take advantage of opportunities of actually taking the aircon pump off and using less fuel and all that sort of thing, yeah? Because, I mean, aircon pumps weighs a bit. You can chuck that away, saves fuel, doesn't it, yeah? So anyway, we'll leave that there, and I will see you in the next video. So anyway, have a good bank holiday weekend, and I'll see you later.